about Islam, right? Prayer, Hajj, Umrah is awesome. The adhan is beautiful.
حاليا هناك حرب بين أوكرانيا وروسيا. أنت كمسلم في هولندا ما رأيك في هذا الحادث؟
But my personal opinion about Islam was very negative. Why it's stupid that they again, this is my opinion back then, right?
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته أيها المشاهدون الأعزاء. أنا اليوم سعيد جدا بهذا اللقاء وبهذه الحلقة لأنها فريدة من نوعها. فريدة لأن ضيف اليوم هو ضيف خاص جدا. هو واحد من أشهر الدعاة في هولندا، نشاطاته الدعوية كثيرة جدا، لا يتوانى عن الدفاع عن الإسلام في شتى المنابر الإعلامية، وقد قبل طلبي بإجراء حوار معه في مقر شركته الذي يوجد داخل قلعة أثرية قديمة جدا. سيد N.Wildman، السلام عليكم.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. I'm so happy to have you here in my office. It's very nice to meet you.
في البداية حبذا لو تحدثنا قليلا عن طفولتك. يعني كيف كانت طفولتك؟ هل ولدت هنا في هولندا من أبوين هولنديين؟
So I was born in 1983 from two Dutch parents. One of them, my mother, who is a Christian, and my father, who is an atheist. So I was born and raised in a household which was plural religious. Not everybody had the same religion. And within this household, I grew up. I did get a Christian upbringing. And at a later point in my life, I decided that I did not believe it, that I was not a practicing Christian. So I find it difficult to identify whether I've ever been a Christian or not. But I did get a Christian upbringing. And I have an older sister. And I'm so lucky. I grew up in a very nice home, and up until this day, and even with Islam even more, my relationship with both my parents and my sister is very good.
وهل كان يعني قلت بأن أباك كان ملحدا؟ هل كان عنده اعتراض أنك تعتنق المسيحية؟
So there was a little bit like a rule in the household that we did get the Christian upbringing, but then when we would be getting older, we would have the freedom to make our own decisions. Now, you cannot make a decision if you don't know what you're choosing between. So, and in essence, the Christian religion, the principles of it, they are very nice. So there was no problem with me having a Christian upbringing.
بالمناسبة هل والدك لا يزالان على قيد الحياة؟
Alhamdulillah. Yes.
هل لا يزال أبوك ملحدا؟
صحيح.
هل أبوك هو ملحد يعني لا يعتقد بوجود الإله، أم أن أصلا سؤال وجود الإله لا يهمه؟
My father does not believe that God exists.
هل حاولت أن تقنعه بالإسلام؟
If you mean that I am literally asking my parents to become Muslim, this is not something that I'm active in. At the same time, as their son, somebody who's very close to them, and they are very close to me, and me practicing the religion of Islam, of course they do get to see what the religion is and what it is all about. They come with me to the mosque, they listen to lectures.
Subhanallah.
So and we have a very open environment where we discuss our various ideas and our various religious perspectives. Not only where we disagree, but also where we agree upon.
احكي لنا عن طفولتك، المدرسة التي درست فيها، هل كانت مدرسة مسيحية أم كانت مدرسة يعني عادية؟
So if you look at the schools that I went to, they were not religious schools. So both my primary and my secondary school, they were non-religious schools. So you get a generic worldview, of course, from a Western perspective. But it did not necessarily imply that you have to be part or look at the world from a specific religious perspective. Looking back, I do think that sometimes we have maybe discussed about Islam, but I do not have anything that I remember from my primary or my secondary school that I really think that was related to me understanding what, for instance, Islam was. You do get, even in public schools, you do get to get in touch with Christianity for the simple reason that you get in touch with the history of your own country. And the history of this country is for a big portion, especially in this part of the country, Christian.
خلال طفولتك هل كان لك أي التقاء مع أشخاص مسلمين؟
Yeah, especially on secondary school, that I remember that there were Muslims that were in my class, and from the different classes, but in the same age group that that I had social contact with. But I also don't remember that we were really discussing religious topics back then. And keep in mind that when I went to secondary school, this was prior to 9/11. So in that time, in this place, Islam was not really a topic that people would often discuss or debate about. It was really after 9/11 that it became a topic of interest, I think, for society. What I know for sure is that it became a topic of interest for me. So I became a Muslim when I was 24 years old, alhamdulillah. After going, reading about Islam, discussing Islam for a year or 4. So sometimes you have these conversion stories where in a very short period of time, somebody had some amazing experience and then saw the light. So this is not my story. In fact, my story was more or less the opposite. I never intended to become a Muslim. It was not it wasn't my intention. It wasn't what I was trying to grow into. What happened was that after 9/11, the view on Islam became more and more negative in this country and in abroad, but for me personally as well. Now, not in a way with activism that you have right now with people who are very politically active to be against Islam. I've never been part of that. And I feel very uncomfortable with people who have that type of behavior. But my personal opinion about Islam was very negative. So I found that when I was speaking to people about this and when I was trying to argue why I thought that Islam was a very bad thing happening to our society, I found that the arguments that I was using, I found that my arguments were not very strong and I could not give very good references. So it was like taking a lot of stances, but not having a lot of arguments and not having a lot of sources and fundaments for what I was saying. And that was bothering me. So my intention was, if I get to know a little bit more about Islam, it will be easier for me to explain why this is not a good religion, right? So why Muslims are so aggressive to women, why Muslims support terrorism, why it's a backward religion, why it's stupid that they again, this is my opinion back then, right? Why it's fit to build a cubicle-shaped building and then pray towards it, right? I mean, come on, you build it yourself, right? So what I found was that I had a lot of negative assumptions about Islam, and trying to come up with better arguments in support of my negative assumptions, reading more and more about Islam. And the funny thing is, one of the first books I started reading was the correlation between religious fanaticism and violence, because this was what my interest was on. I wasn't interested in becoming a Muslim, right? So the more and more I read, the more I found that not my arguments were the problem, but the assumptions themselves. So while trying to prove my assumptions, I was actually disproving and debunking them. And you can imagine that wasn't what I was trying to do, so I wasn't even particularly happy with that. And I remember that when I get to a moment thinking like, hey, these guys might even have the truth on their side, right? They might have a case, right? I remember the first time thinking that for a split second, I was in shock. I was like, oh, that's not what I was going for. Because I was a non-religious white male with an education and a nice job. I was doing fine. I wasn't looking for a religion. I was, on the winning team. So that's also one of the reasons why I think it took me so long before finally embracing Islam, because I really had to cross that obstacle from trying to disprove Islam to actually accepting for myself as well that my opinion was shifting fundamentally. And then finally, when it did, then things went pretty rapid. So from that point on, when I finally crossed it, I just got in touch with somebody, and they started to do dawah with me, and I was like, yeah, I appreciate it, but I just need to go to the mosque because I need to say the shahada. And they were like, yeah, but we want to explain to you. I said, no, I got this. Which of course is, there is some portion of arrogance in it, because I thought I knew, and then you become a Muslim, you start practicing, and then you get to, looking back now on what I knew of Islam, when I took the shahada, and what I know now, compared to what is out there in knowledge, right? It's right now I feel much more humble and like, oh man, there's so much I need to learn that I don't understand. But when I took the shahada, I was like, yeah, man, I got this. honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
So then I became a Muslim, age 24, and my dad videotaped it. He came with me to the mosque. Yeah, he came with me to the mosque. My mother wanted to come as well, but she couldn't. But there was not an argument for it. But there was just some practical. It was impractical, and then my father came, and so I have a videotape of. I got a video of my shahada that my dad filmed.
اوكي طيب، يعني ان قصتك مع الاسلام يعني لم تكن عن طريق داعية، انت بدأت دراستك للاسلام بنفسك، فلم تحتج إلى مرشد أو داعية ليشرح لك الإسلام، أنت أصلا كنت قد درسته، فما احتجت إلا إلى النطق بالشهادتين في المسجد.
So, of course you need it, but I needed it after I took shahada, right? Because then you need to start practicing it, and looking at the map, thinking where you need to drive, and then doing it, those are two very different things. So, of course, by the time I took shahada, I really had to build my network, get the people around me that could help me, and lean on them. And I had so much support from a number of individuals that I will love and make dua for the rest of my life, because they helped me so much in that phase. I would not advise people to take the route that I took. Okay. It is better to have the support of the person before taking the shahada, so you have a clear entrance and a clearer route, etc., and to have guidance in that part of your journey as well. But that's my opinion looking back, and that's not the way that it went for me. But I mean, after my shahada, I did have a lot of support, and up until this day, the fact that so I became active in the field of da'wah. But honestly, it was a little bit of a sneaky move, because becoming active in the field of da'wah, it allowed me to meet so many people who outrank me in knowledge, in experience, in life experience, in their experience of practicing Islam, etc., that I can actually lean on them a little bit, ask my questions, and to also show when I'm not sure of something, or when I'm insecure about something, to discuss it with them and to ask them for nasiha. So this really helped me. And my advice to everybody, because when you take shahada, everybody starts giving you advices, right? It's crazy, right? Everybody who finds out you're a new Muslim, they come and they give you 10 advices every day. So it's impossible, right? So I found that there's one advice that I give to people that I stick to. And it is, build a network of friends that are practicing Islam. Just do that. And all the other advices, I don't even give them. I say, just get yourself a nice network of some nice guys who are or if, of course, if it is a sister, then nice girls, right? Who are practicing Islam, and then practice Islam with them. And then you will find that whatever comes in your path and whatever questions you have and all the obstacles you'll discuss, you'll get together, they will help you, right? Get yourself a network.
كذلك هذه المسألة يعني تقودني إلى سؤال آخر، وهو أنك يعني حين بدأت تريد الاطلاع على الإسلام ودراسته وتعلم تعاليمه، ألم يعني تقع لك صدمة مثلا من وجود مدارس إسلامية مختلفة؟
Yes. Yeah. So This is very interesting because it means that the level of your iman is actually linked to your rational understanding of the religion. And when you think that Islam is a truth in a way that everybody has the same opinion about every detail, and this boosts your iman, and then you find out this is not the case, you go like, what? Right? And it can hurt you, right? And not only that it will lower your iman, but it will hurt you as a person emotionally. So it's very important to have a proper understanding of what Islam is, so that you are linking your iman to the correct fundamentals. So what I have done, and what I found helped me, was to understand usul al-fiqh. So to understand the root of differences, but also to understand what is the impact of a difference. So if what I think is very important to understand when it comes to the differences between the schools of thought in the madahib, right, is that you understand that there are differences which do not exclude the rightfulness of the other. And this, I think, is very important. Not only because it will help you to prevent extremism in thinking, right? So I'm not talking about television journalism, but what you see on the news. I mean extremism in your thinking, right? When you think that you are the only one that's correct and everybody else is wrong, this is an extremism in the way that you're thinking, right? So to understand that there are differences which do not exclude each other, I think that it's very important, and I found that understanding the base principles of fiqh, for me, it helped a lot to understand that, and also to prevent being hurt when you find that Islam is something that you loved and then find out it is not. And also the understanding for yourself that Islam is perfect. I mean, this is the deen of Allah. I mean, right? It doesn't get much better than this, right? Well, in fact, it doesn't get any better than this, right? So the problem is always you. It's always you. It is your interpretation of Islam. It is your view of Islam. It is your understanding of Islam. It is your knowledge of Islam. You're the weakest link. Or, in my case, I'm the weakest link, right? So to understand that, and to make sure that you always try to link your iman to the fundamentals which are correct, and then understanding that you're just trying to get in your understanding as close to the truth as you can. I think that's very important. And like I said, really, usul al-fiqh, you don't have to become a scholar, right? But usul al-fiqh, to understand the root of differences, and why a difference does not, by definition, means that there is a problem. And by the way, why some differences do mean that there is a problem, because it's not like that everything is nice. No, some people have some mixed up ideas, right? But to able to differentiate between that, I think is very important. And we as Muslims, and this is not only for converts, we as Muslims, we need to really learn to understand that we are living in the same house. And within this house, within this construct of this house, which is the Ummah, there are different rooms. So some people may be your roommates, and they're on exactly the same interpretation as you are. And some people are maybe not your roommates, they are maybe in the next door, but they're in the same house, right? What we need to prevent is when the house is on fire, we need to understand, all of us together, this is our house. And it doesn't mean we're in the same room, but we're in the same house. We're brothers and sisters in Islam, we're in this together. And it does not necessarily mean that we will be identical. Unity doesn't mean that we are all identical. Unity means that we understand that we can embrace our differences and then work together for better. And it's not, and honestly, like you're asking me as a convert. But this topic in itself, it is not limited to converts, right? In fact, it's not limited at all. everybody in the Ummah has unfortunately, can be exposed to this way of thinking. And it can hurt your iman. But when it does, I mean, you're the weakest link, right? Or in my case, I'm the weakest link. It's not because of Islam. Don't worry about Islam. Islam is the good part.
هل درست يعني المذاهب كلها وقارنتها أم تخصصت في مذهب معين مثلا المذهب المالكي أو المذهب الشافعي؟
So this is a good question. When I was referring to usul al-fiqh, I was referring to usul al-fiqh prior to it becoming limited to a madhab. So it is understanding the different madhab and then understanding your own. Right? If you only understand your own but you don't understand your others, then you still actually don't know what you single out, right? So first to really understand what usul al-fiqh is in the basics, and then how the different madahib, which used to be more than 4, right? How they came to be, and understanding that there was a lot of human work in this, which was mashallah, with scholars that we look up to, and that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant these people Jannah, right? So to understand that and then understand where you are positioning yourself. And so I also don't advise people to follow a specific madhab, right? If a person converts to Islam, and in this town or in the city where he goes, or the mosque that he goes to, if they are Hanafi, then say, just go with them. Right? Because again, what I said is that it's so important to have the network, right? But imagine, imagine in this day and this time, 2022, the Netherlands, if I were to have a complete group of friends around me, which are all Hanafi, right, for instance, and I were to constantly follow only the Maliki madhab, right? So how does that actually link to the example of the Prophet ﷺ, where we found that he was founding groups. One of the things that he did, which was so amazing, was to bring people together as groups. So if there's a fundamental difference, and if it is a serious difference, right? There are of course there are limitations, right? We can't go along with everybody, right? But as long as that's not the case, then just be part of the group. So if somebody, like in the Netherlands, we have a big Hanafi group with many people with Turkish backgrounds, and we have a big Maliki group with people from Moroccan backgrounds. If you were to convert to Islam, and you were to marry, for instance, a Turkish woman or a Turkish man, depending on who you are, and then you were to follow the Maliki madhab, I would say, you're making it difficult for yourself, right? Be part of the group.
أنت هولندي وتعرف المجتمع الهولندي أحسن من غيرك، فكيف تظن أن الإنسان الهولندي ينظر إلى الإسلام؟ يعني مثلا، لأن هذه المسألة مهمة جدا لشخص مثلا يريد أن يقوم بالدعوة في هذا البلد، يجب عليه أن يعرف نظرة الآخر إلى دينه حتى يستطيع أن يفهم موقعه فيرد عليه فيدعوه بالطريقة الأنسب. فكيف يعني حسب خبرتك كيف ينظر الهولنديون إلى الإسلام؟
So, first of all, I agree. Right? And this is so important to understand that when it comes to knowledge. In Islam, we often talk about knowledge and wisdom, right? So it is a combination of understanding the deen, which I try, right? And understanding the context, right? Which is where I'm from. And not only am I from this country, I used to be a non-Muslim. So I kind of know what non-Muslims think because I used to be one, right? Heavily invested. So, what I found is that, what I think is that the opinion from many Western non-Muslims, and especially atheists, keep in mind that this country, although in the history it's a Christian country, right now, people with no religion are the majority, right? So Christians are a minority in this country now, right? Many people left Christianity, and then it's like the negative experiences that they had with Christianity, they project it on Islam. So what we find is that when you're talking to non-Muslims about Islam, they will say, I don't like Islam, I like science. And then I reply, I say, well, because I like Islam, I like science. But there is such a strong association that religion per se is anti-human rights, anti-women, anti-science, that they are actually projecting this on Islam as well. So this means that when I'm interacting with people who are non-Muslim, I'm actually not, by definition, trying to discuss with them on arguments and have a rational debate with them, because that's really not where the problem is. Where the problem is the negative associations contributed to religion in general, specifically to Islam, due to some very negative events that has happened, but also due to the way that we look at events. So, for instance, if a white secular guy does something, we say it's that individual. If a Muslim does something, we say that's Islam. So these are two negative events, but the way that it is perceived is different, right? So when I try to engage in conversation with people, I try to talk about their associations with Islam, because then I just ask them, instead of just telling about Islam, I ask them, what's your opinion? And then what I do is I take from their opinion all the things which are Islamically correct, and then I say, that's Islam. And so instead of trying to say, you're a non-Muslim, this is a religion, I'm trying to get you to like this religion, instead of that, I'm actually pointing out which parts of the way that they're already thinking are Islam. And which parts of what they think is wrong about religion is not allowed in Islam. So say, but you're not, the problem with religion is that this and this and this. I say, yeah, but not only is that your opinion, that's Islamically correct. We also think it is very problematic if people do this and this and that, right? So I'm actually trying to attack verbally, intellectually, associations that people have. And plus, what I like to do is I just like to bring people along. So it's just like to bring them along to a mosque. Many people in this country believe they are not allowed to enter a mosque. Many non-Muslims, they believe that they are not allowed to enter a mosque. They will, if you ask them, many people literally say, "Yeah, I would like to see it, but I don't know if I'm allowed to enter." So you're not allowed to enter. There's a door. Yeah, but I'm not a Muslim, right? Which is funny, because then I have a discussion with people. They say, "I'm not allowed to go to Mecca as a non-Muslim. I'm not allowed. This is why I don't like your religion." I say, "Why do you even bother?" So why? Would you like to go to Mecca? They say, I would like to. So why would you like to? Say, there's a big mosque. I would like to see it. I say, well, you're from Utrecht. There's a big mosque, right? I mean, you don't like that you can't go to the big mosque in Mecca, but you didn't even go to the big mosque in your own city. You say, yeah, but I'm not allowed. So you're not allowed, right? I say, come. See, you want to see a big mosque, and keep in mind, I'm not teasing them, right? I'm taking them seriously, right? But I'm saying, listen, you want to see what a mosque looks like from the inside? So yeah, so let's go. And then we just go to the mosque, and when you're in the mosque with a non-Muslim, you say, hey, this guy's not a Muslim. Oh, yeah, you want coffee, you want some desserts, They'll have a very nice time. And they don't go away with understanding like this is the prayer times, and this is the Qibla, and this is how it works. No, they go away with the experience, hey, I went to a mosque, and those guys were really friendly. And they were happy to see me. So keep that in mind. Because as long as they think that we're the enemy, all my rational arguments are useless. Yes. As soon as we understand that, listen, we're both trying to get the best out of this life. And maybe we can help each other. No. Here's some opening where we can discuss. And honestly, I mean, Islam is the best you can wish for everybody.
أنت تعلم أن الهولنديين يحبون السفر كثيرا، فأكثرهم زار الدول الإسلامية ويرون فيها مثلا مظاهر التخلف. وكذلك حين يعودون هناك بعض المسلمين هنا في الديار الأوروبية لديهم سلوكات لنقل ليست جيدة. ألا يؤثر هذا في يعني في مسار الداعية والدعوة؟
Okay, so there's two things. First of all, this is about associations. And Islam is not the same as the level of development of certain countries. So when a person looks at a country at a certain point in time, and based on that defines his idea of what Islam is, this is an association, right? There were times where the Islamic world was far further developed than the European countries, and there are times where it's the other way around, based on what you define as development, right? But if we were to say like wealth and corruption and health systems and education, roads, right? Whatever, right? So, but Islam has been Islam all this time, right? So in the golden era of Islam, while the dark ages were in Europe, this was Islam, and if you look at Islam today, it's Islam. Right? So you can't look at a certain location at a certain time, look at the level of development at that point in time, and then come up with an opinion about a religion that's 1400 years going. This is nice because the people who oppose Islam, they tend to argue for rational thinking and logic. But then I tell them, if you look at a country, at a place in a country at a time, and based on this, define your opinion about a 1400-year running religion, that's not logic. That's not rational. So I think that, in fact, reason in itself, which is usually a very big portion of the way that these people say that they think, or even think that they think, will allow you to challenge those type of associations. But again, it's very important to understand these are associations. So associations will always damage or make more difficult the dawah. Why? Because Islam is perfect. You can't get a better association than Islam itself. So whatever is between you and Islam in your thinking will make it last beautiful, because Islam is the most beautiful thing ever. But then again, this is also going on in the Islamic community itself. Because not only do we have non-Muslims to do, we have Muslims that do that. So we have Muslims, imagine, right now we're in a very interesting phase in this country, where we are building mosques with the intention of using them as a mosque. But for a very long time, we bought, like the people that I wasn't even a Muslim back then, right? But, and by the way, a lot of respect for the people that did the work back then, right? So I'm not saying that's wrong, I'm just saying I'm really happy that we're now a few levels further, right? They bought a lot of buildings that were old and then converted it into mosques, which means that as a Muslim, you went to a very nice school, which is like awesome, right? And then you were to go to a very old, maybe a little bit dusty building, and maybe the air circulation wasn't as good, and the amount of light that comes in isn't as good. And this is then where we're teaching you about all of life, and God, and the Creator, and the hereafter, right? So there's a very strong association there that it sounds like, you know, when you're going to the places where you're being taught Islam, sometimes those places are much less nice than the places where they are teaching you that God doesn't exist, right? And growing up as a Muslim, which that's not what happened to me, because I grew up as a non-Muslim, but I see it. Growing up as a Muslim, that also hurts your iman. So it's very important that we understand that these are associations. And then, of course, when it comes to everything that we do as Muslims, we should strive for the absolute best. So it's very interesting that now we're building mosques with the intention of using them as a mosque. New buildings, very nice, awesome, that you go in there and you're like proud. Yeah, I'm a part of this. I'm a part of this movement, right? I can bring my non-Muslim friends and go like, yeah, this is where I'm going, and they won't be like, oh man, that's really sad for you, right? So it's, but again, these are associations. So we have the truth, that's Islam, right? The truth is the truth. That's not the problem. But the associations are very strong.
لدي سؤال هو نوعا ما نستطيع أن نقول أنه سؤال سياسي. لاحظت، ربما أنا مخطئ، لاحظت أنه لدينا هنا نوعان من التوجهات. توجه يحاول استغلال فرصة الدعوة والمساحات المتاحة، وتوجه آخر يعني يركز على أن الدولة هنا تضيق على الدعوة وأنها تحارب الدعوة. هل ترون أنه فعلا هناك فرصة للدعوة، أم أنه فعلا هناك مضايقات والدولة تحارب الدعوة؟
The question is, who of the two is right? Yeah. So the thing here is that one does not exclude the other. So if you are a Muslim in this country and you're active in the field of dawah and you don't think that the government is making it less easy for you, then you're dreaming, right? Yes, we do have regulations. Yes, we do have laws. Yes, which are preventing, which are intended to prevent the dawah, right? We have that, right? But not extreme, right? It's not like if you give a lecture in a mosque, you go to jail, right? But yeah, so there are rules and regulations, and there's a lot of public debate, etc., which is intended to limit the dawah. This is correct, right? Because there are people in government and people in politics, which are two different things, and then people in the media and etc., which are very strong against Islam. This is true, right? At the same time, listen, who do you want to do dawah to? Right? You want to do dawah in Jannah. You know, right? Don't worry about Jannah. Right? No, if you're going to do dawah, you're going to be in a situation where people don't already accept Islam. And you will find that you are in a position where some people even fight against Islam. I mean, what? We're going to do dawah to invite people to the way of the Prophet ﷺ? The way that I read it, he had quite some opposition. Right? And that's our example. That's the person that we claim to follow, or at least we try to follow. So yeah, there's opposition, but there is actually, the difference is not really whether you think that there's only opportunities or only difficulties. So there's always both. Always. Right? The real question is, do you think that there are obstacles that you are willing to overcome so that you will grow and achieve? Or are you looking for arguments to explain to yourself why you didn't? Now, if you're looking for arguments to explain to yourself why you didn't, oh, there's plenty. But if you're looking for chances, there's enough.
There's enough.
Yeah, there's enough. And it's even, I mean, there is nothing out there. There's nothing out there more beautiful than Islam. So it's like we're selling, you understand the way how I'm using this term, right? We're selling the best product ever. To live your life in accordance with the will of the Creator, who created you with the intention to live like that. This is the best thing ever.
MashaAllah.
Right? So there are some rulings which, by the way, there's rulings that defend you as well. Because as a Muslim, I do have freedom of speech. And I will get a lot of criticism. I'm not free of criticism. No. If you're a Muslim, if you're stepping out and you're in the spotlight and you're defending Islam, you're in for a treat. Right? Yeah, you'll be criticized. Right? And sometimes they will really make it difficult.
But you have the right to defend yourself.
But you also have the right to defend yourself. And also, we did have incidents where those rights were not given. Right? But we're taking them to court. So, Yeah, so, and again, so the real question is, where do you want to do that, your da'wah? Well, you want to do it in Jannah, right? So, yeah, this is not Jannah, right? No, you will find difficulties, yeah? You will find obstacles. You will find people who do not like you. By the way, you'll find them within the ummah as well, right? Yeah, exactly, yes. True. So what? So you're willing to conquer your obstacles? Are you willing to conquer your difficulties? Are you willing to conquer your own nafs, right? Because, I mean, there's no da'wah without jihad and nafs, right? So you'll have to fight yourself, right? Oh, yeah, I'm giving a lecture. People really like it. I get respect now, right? People are liking my Facebook post. Hey, wait a second. Where's your intention going, right? So you will constantly have to deal with all of this. Yeah. Da'wah is hard work. And you know where the reward is? It's with Allah. You want your reward in this worldly life? Dawah is probably not the road you want to. What? You want to seek the satisfaction of Allah? Do dawah in a non-Muslim country, of course. Yeah, and face your difficulties. What else did we find in the seerah than the Prophet ﷺ and his companions facing difficulties? Yeah, you cannot compare the difficulties you will find on your path in the dawah in the Netherlands with the things that the people that we claim to follow, what they faced. No, this is the easy way.
ما هو أكثر سؤال غريب سئلته لما دخلت إلى الإسلام؟
So there's basically two sides of it. These are the questions that you get from Muslims, and there's the questions that you get from non-Muslims. First of all, what I find funny, and I understand it, but I find it a bit funny, is when Muslims ask me why I converted to Islam. I'm like, dude, I mean, you know what Islam is, right? Why are you asking me why I chose Islam? This is the best thing ever, right? I mean, if you don't know why I became a Muslim, then maybe, right? Maybe there's a problem there, right? But again, I know why they ask it. I know why people like to hear why people convert to Islam, because they're just like, I understand that. So maybe I'm a little bit too serious on that one. I get it. The second thing is that many non-Muslims in this country, I don't know about other countries, but in this country, they actually approach religion as if it were a product. So I get questions from people asking me what benefits I got from becoming a Muslim. Like, oh, did it bring you to a state of peace? Did it give you happiness? Did it give you it gives you very strict rulings, which makes your life a lot of order and structure, right? But this is a product thinking, right? It's not like, it's not like there's multiple religions out there, and then I just check which one gives me which benefits, and then I pick one. I say, oh, well, it gave me these benefits. And then, of course, Islam gave me benefits, of course. But that's not part of the reason why I became a Muslim, right? A person becomes a Muslim, I think, because he gets to a point, or she gets to a point of realizing that Islam is the truth. So, if the truth is uncomfortable, it's still the truth. Mm-hmm. If the lie gives you peace, it is still a lie. So the question isn't what worldly benefits it gave me. The only question is it the truth or not? If Islam was not the truth, because I really love things about Islam, right? Prayer, Hajj, Umrah is awesome. The adhan is beautiful. But if Islam was not the truth, it's useless. Yes. All of these things that we really love about Islam, if it were not to be the truth, it's worthless. So the only thing is it the truth or not? And if it's the truth, you should do it. No. And embrace it. And if it's not the truth, then whatever benefits it gets you, it's irrelevant. Mm-hmm. So the only reason why I became a Muslim is because it's the truth. Mm-hmm. It's the only reason. Alhamdulillah, right? Because sometimes people compliment you. You became a Muslim? MashaAllah, it's so good for you. Of course not. Islam teaches us that if Allah wants a person to become a Muslim, nobody can misguide him. Yeah, and if Allah does not want somebody to become a Muslim, nobody can guide this person, right? I mean, I tried to misguide myself, and I failed, I became a Muslim not because of something that I should be complimented with. I became a Muslim because I failed debunking Islam. I lost. Right? And then of course I won. Right? But this is thanks to Allah.
كسؤال أخير، أنا أعرف أنه عندك مشاغل كثيرة. حاليا هناك حرب بين أوكرانيا وروسيا. أنت كمسلم في هولندا، ما رأيك في هذا الحادث؟
Not specifically as a Muslim from the Netherlands, but as a Muslim, I wish to see less fitna, and I wish to see more peace, and I wish to see rule of law applied. Even if it is not maybe by definition exactly the rule of law of Islam, I would still approve, I would still love to see rule of law before chaos. So seeing the decay of peace and the growth of fitna in any place, in any time, regardless of who is doing it to whom, I'm against that. And I hope that peace will come back. Yeah, inshallah.
آخر كلمات توجهها للجمهور العربي والمسلم الذي يتابعنا الآن.
So, I think that it is very important that we get to a point where we see each other as brothers and sisters. You're asking me as a convert, but I'm not a convert. I'm your brother.
Yes.
And and you, to me, you're not a Moroccan. You are my brother. So while at the same time we should be together more and helping each other more, regardless of our differences, than that we should discuss our differences in a way that actually hurts us.
شكرا جزيلا على هذا اللقاء. بارك الله فيك، وأتمنى أن يوفقك الله تعالى في مسيرتك الدعوية ومسيرتك الشخصية إن شاء الله، والمهنية كذلك.